The Importance of Human Rights by Salento Hairston. The definition of human rights are defined as all those rights that are essential for the protection and maintenance of dignity of individuals and create conditions in which every human being can develop his personality to the fullest extent may be termed as human rights. There are different types of human rights. You have civil and political rights, and economic and social rights. Just to talk more about civil and political rights, civil rights and liberties are referred to those rights which are related to the protection of the right to life and personal liberty. They are essential for a person so that he may live a dignified life. Such rights include rights to life, liberty, rights to privacy, freedom, torture, and rights to own property. These rights are also known as freedom. Whereas political rights may be referred to those rights which allow a person to participate in the government of state, for right to vote, right to be elected, and right to take part in conduct in public affairs. Just to talk more about the history, the documents which form the historical foundation of modern human rights jurisprudence are the English Bill of Rights, which was made in 1688, the American Declaration of Independence, which was made in 1776, and the French Declaration of Man, which was made in 1789. Even though the origin of human rights is ancient, the international concern with human rights may be said to be comparatively recent origin. The UN Charter marks the advent of systematic human rights protection within the international system. The idea of human rights is as old as humanity. Its systematic proclamation and declaration are more recent. The world's first Bill of Human Rights was discovered on clay tablet dating back from the reign of Cyrus the Great from 555 to 529 BC. Education should be offered to every man, woman, and youth of childhood. Education, as you can see, is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. The human rights to free and compulsory elementary education and to readily available forms of secondary and higher education. The human rights to freedom, the discrimination in all areas and levels of education, to equal access to continuing education and vocational training, and also human right to information about health, nutrition, reproduction, and family planning. Racial injustice and inequality. These are just a few facts that we found. Homelessness in 1999, a study by the U.S. Conference of Mayors estimated 50% of the homeless population was African American, 13% Latino, 4% Native American, and 2% Asian American. Persons of color make up 69% of the total homeless population. Also, voting rights. An estimated 3.9 million voting adults, 1 in every 50 adults, has lost the right to vote as results of felony conviction. 13% of the U.S. African American males have already been disenfranchised, and an additional 4,200 and 3,710 individuals, of whom 317,782 are persons of color, because they are residents of the District of Columbia. Violations. Human rights violations occur when actions by the state or non-state actors abuse, ignore, or deny basic human rights, including civil, political, cultural, and social economic rights. Furthermore, violations can occur when any state or non-state actor breaches any part of the UDHR treaty or other international human rights, humanitarian law. Human rights abuses are monitored by the the United Nations committees, national institutions and governments, and by many independent non-governmental organizations such as Amnesty International, International Federation of Human Rights, Human Rights Watch, World Organizations Against Torture, Freedom House, International Freedom of Expression Exchange, and Anti-Slavery Internationals. These organizations collect evidence and documentations of alleged human rights abuses and apply pressure to enforce human rights laws. Wars of aggression, wars of crime, crime against humanity, including genocide and also breaches of international humanitarian law, and represent the most serious of human rights violations. The UN Security Council has interceded with peacekeeping forces, and other states and treaties have intervened in situations to protect human rights. This was just a survey based off of 1977. Only 8% adults and 4% of young people are aware of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights exists. After learning about the UDHR, a large majority, 83%, feel like the United States should do more to live up to the principles of the UDHR. 2/3 of the people polled, 63%, say that the poor are usually discriminated against in the U.S. Others discriminated against are the disabled, which is 61%, the elderly, which is 54%, and Native Americans, which is 50%, and African Americans coming in at 41%. Religious freedom, which is probably the most important one to me. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says that everyone in the United States has the right to practice his or her own religion, or no religion at all. Our country's founders, who were of different religion backgrounds themselves, knew the best way to protect religious liberty was to keep the government out of religion. So they created the First Amendment to guarantee the separation of church and state. This fundamental freedom is a major reason why the U.S. has managed to avoid a lot of the religious conflicts that have torn so many other nations apart. The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment prohibits government from encouraging or promoting religion in any way. That's why we don't have an official religion of the United States. This means that the government may not give financial support to any religion. That's why many schools' voucher programs violate the Establishment Clause, because they give taxpayers money to schools to promote religion.